Hey there, I'm Kevin.
And I'm Jamie, and we're your co-hosts for Two Clicks in a Pod.
Join us as we explore our missed times, stories, and memories due to divorce and a 1,000-mile separation.
I can't wait. You ready to get into it, Kev?
I am. Hey, Jamie, you think they're going to swear?
Oh, yeah. Consider yourselves warned.
Hey, good morning. Merry Christmas. Yep.
Wow. You do realize it's 7:04 p.m. East Coast time.
7:04, 6:04 here in the
Good
Central
morning. Good
Time
morning
Zone.
and Merry Christmas to everybody. Holy shit. That was funny, Dad. Are you...
Yeah.
Should I ask you about your day? How you doing?
Yeah, I had a good day.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a pretty good day. It was a little...
And if your brain was a
wacky
little
of a
fried.
start, but yeah, I had a good day overall. Got my workout in and didn't get that done yesterday. We got home mid-afternoon, so I gave myself a break, but I had given myself a break pretty much. I worked out Thursday and Friday at Mom's, but I was behind one, so I didn't work out Saturday. So
yeah, I was
anyway,
same.
Good.
Samesies. A little behind last week. Didn't make it yesterday. I didn't. I was looking forward to hitting the gym. They like to say never miss a Monday, but my husband snored so bad Sunday night. I woke up at like 3:00 in the morning and basically couldn't go back to sleep. So I was very tired yesterday. So I didn't get to the gym. I got there today. Had a good workout. Back at it. So that's good.
Yeah.
You got back from, you mentioned you got home Sunday. You guys were in Virginia for Grandma's Monday. You were in Virginia for Grandma's 91st birthday.
Yep.
Right? 91 years young.
91 is here, and she's on a plane right now. Or she probably landed, but they were leaving today, taking her down to Florida to hang out with Leslie and Carol down there for the month of March and probably the first week in April. She's targeting to get back when I come in for the actual Walsingham Academy class of 73 52nd reunion.
So she's going to be there. She's going to be in Florida till April?
Yeah, I mean, it's the 1st of March here in 5 days or 6 days. She's going to go down there. I mean, she doesn't really need to be at home. They're getting ready to, Cindy had renovated the upstairs, with Teresa leaving the bedroom upstairs and painted everything, had everything kind of, new beds set up and picked out. And they were going to be working this week, possibly putting in new carpet in 3 of the bedrooms, the kind of the kids' bedrooms of the past, Cindy's bedroom, Leslie and Teresa's bedroom, and then my bedroom back there in the back. And then they were going to refinish the hardwood floors in the hallway and the master bedroom upstairs and get the carpet off the stairs coming down and refinish those stair treads, just kind of get that all doctored up. But yeah, everything really looked good.
Are they getting ready to, is the intention to sell the house or just be prepared for when it's time to sell the house?
Right. Just to get it, to get it more in tune with just, good showing and that kind of thing. So
sure.
They did a great job renovating that bathroom back there in the master upstairs area and the dressing area. That thing looks tenfold better. And
well, I tell you what, it's a great house. I've said many a times when we're there, I wish I could just pick that house up and drop it here in my little lovely abode. It's a great house, great family home, mid-sized family home,
And it's held its own. I mean, it doesn't have any structural problems. I mean, there's not really any cracking to speak of, minor here and there that has happened over the times, but nothing to what it could be. So shows you that it's well built.
They say that means they have good bones.
That's right. Good bones. That's exactly right. I wasn't going to use that term because I figured nobody would know what it was, but that's what we said when we were there.
I know
it's
what
got
it
good
is.
bones.
Hey, what year was that house built? I'm curious. Do you know that?
It was finished in 1968. We were
Wow.
in the
All right.
rental house from moved in June of 67, there for a year. So June of 68, we moved in.
We had a guy at the house today. I'm getting the kids' bedrooms painted just to, they just needed to freshen up. I mean, the whole house could stand to be painted, but I'm not doing that. But the kids wanted to kind of update their rooms a little bit, whatever. So the guy's in the middle of painting and doing all his work. And he calls down to me and he said, I think I may have thrown a fuse. And I said, you most likely did. I go, it happens often. I said, this house was built in 1930. It's old as shit. So it was pretty funny. But I will say that house, 1930 house, still standing strong.
Do you have I noticed that in Dad's garage.
Here's what I want to know. What did you do for the 91st birthday? So last year, just a little recap for the listeners, we had a party at Grandma's house. Reese and I came down. I can't remember why Chris and Parker couldn't be there. I think he had hockey, most likely.
Yeah, I think so. I think they were at hockey.
Reese and I girls road tripped it down to be there for Grandma's party, which was an open house celebration, and which was really nice because we got to meet so many people that have been in her life through, working at William and Mary and neighborhood friends. It was really cool. And everybody just coming up and saying, how basically telling me how cool my grandma is. And I'm like, you don't have to tell me, 90 years and look at her. Anyway, so that was a really cool party. So what did you do for 91? Because obviously you didn't have a big party. But you guys, all the kids were there, right? All of my aunts were there. So all four of you were in town.
Yeah, Cindy and George were up there in Delaware watching the kids for the time that Tim and Aaron went to their 15th wedding anniversary trip, which was down in the Caribbean somewhere. I'm trying to think where they went, but anyway, so they were up there. They came back on Friday. I flew in on Tuesday, so Mom and I had Tuesday night, Wednesday, and Thursday together, which we just kind of, knocked around. We spent most of Wednesday. I got in Tuesday afternoon on an early flight, so that was good, and just had a good couple days with her, catching up and keeping her company, and then jumped back into the work routine on mornings there. Friday came about. Cindy and then George were driving down Friday. Suzanne flew in from Nashville Friday afternoon or Friday morning.
Oh, nice.
Leslie and Carol flew in from Orlando Friday morning. So I picked them up at the airport. Just had a cool family dinner on Friday night where we, made dinner for everyone. Saturday was kind of Mom's day. Hung out with her throughout the day. Everybody was there. T came over later in the day for a little bit. And we cooked, again, just kind of a family meal with 2 birthday cakes, a chocolate cake and a angel food white ice cake with fruit. Cindy made those. So
nice.
Yeah, just kind of a chill day. And we did get out on Friday night after or before dinner and ran down to that Billsburg brewery.
How?
It was good. I wanted to get down there and check it out before the reunion, but it was a lot of fun. We sat there for a couple hours and just had a beer, and they were getting ready for.
Did Grandma go?
Trivia night. No, Mom did not go. Mom didn't go. She just won't get out of that house. When I was going to the grocery store, she acted like she was going to go with me, and then she kind of backed off and said, "Well, I'll probably just hang here." And I said, "Well, that's no problem. It will take less time." But anyway, like I said, she got on a plane today, and she was a little nervous about that, but it sounded like that all went well.
I can't wait to hear what Leslie thinks of the Villages, by the way.
Oh, well, this is their second time they've been, I guess they were down there a little bit last winter, and then they've been back this winter. So,
but she spent more time there this year, right? This go round.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's, they both enjoy it. There's plenty to do. I think the issue last year was that they were trying to get things, she had rented it out to before that. So she was kind of getting everything back to in her own little, Carol
she wants it.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So they spent more time jacking with the home and getting it set up last year, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's plenty to do. They've been playing golf a lot. They, of course, Leslie's big into bridge. And so she found a bridge club and does that.
They have a club for everything, Dad. They have a club for everything. It's crazy.
I actually got,
they have a,
they brought it back for me.
What is it? There you go.
It's the daggone newspaper. So it outlines all the entertainment. I mean, all the movies. I mean, just everything. So,
yeah. Well, Stu opened a facility there.
I did not know that, but you mentioned that once before, and I knew that I didn't know it was at the Villages.
I mean, I don't know that it's on property, but it's like right by it, obviously intentionally for people who age out of the Villages to go into senior living. And so when he was meeting with them to broker this deal, they gave him a DVD, like their sales DVD that you watch about why you should want to move to the Villages.
Oh, I see.
And I watched it and I was just like, sold. And this was, I don't know, 15 years ago. And I'm like, I'm ready. Like, take me now. I will sign me up. I'm all about it. Because it's just like, it's like summer camp for retired people all year long.
Yeah, I'll let you know we're going down there the week of the 10th for Suzanne's spring break week. So we're going to go down there.
I can't wait to hear it. I can't wait to hear what you have to say.
And see how we think, what we actually think about that. And I just said, it just looks a little bit overwhelming or listening to it all. I mean, there's just so much to do and just, nonstop, go, go, go. I said, I'm a little
Dad,
bit
I think
concerned.
You would thrive in the Villages. Like,
probably
absolutely.
That's what they tell me. That's what they tell me. They said, you will, you'll have plenty of people that will just capture your attention and you'll have good banter and good talking with. I said, well,
you could probably start your own spinoff podcast about life in the Villages. I mean,
yeah, probably could.
I think we need to talk about this because I have a feeling that there's something here.
Yeah.
Do you know that the Villages had an excessively high STD rate? Have you heard this?
Yes, that's true. George brought that up as well.
Because all the retired people are like getting busy. They're all swinging because they're like, honestly though, Dad, it's like, can you blame them? I don't know. Like, I can't wait for you to go on this trip and come back. I'm very, very anxious to hear about it from your perspective.
I asked Carol, I said, I'm going to need a little placard that I can put on my wrist, just like the quarterbacks have when they're calling plays. I need to know what the legend is for the colored loofahs.
I'm very much looking forward to your direct feedback on it. How long are you going to be there, for a week?
Yeah, a week, Monday through Monday.
You may need to make it 2, Dad. I feel like you may need to extend it a little bit. Like you got to really acclimate.
Suzanne's only got a week, and I have a.
She ain't leaving you there.
I have a feeling she won't leave me behind.
No, she is not leaving you there. God, no, you are not being left alone in the Villages.
Yeah,
not with that STD rate.
Yeah. There's cougars everywhere out there. They have to call animal control, I'm sure.
My God. Cougars, panthers, all of it. Oh, wow. Yep. Oh, wow. All right. Well,
it's like a jungle.
Wow.
I bet it's very comedic for sure. And better yet, Leslie's got Mom all geared up and convinced that she's going to get on a freaking scooter so she can get out and actually, peruse the neighborhood. So
like a razor scooter, like the kind that old people ride.
That's what I told her. I said, Mom, we're going to buy you a helmet.
Oh no, they're called rascals. They're called rascals.
Get you some skater gear. I said, we're going to go to the Vulcan store and get you all geared up. And
backward, it'll put you on a flat.
I'll let you have one of my ball caps and off you go. But yeah, she was showing a video of I think it was Candy or Rose's grandfather was down there, and he was somebody she knew had one of the girls that's good friends with Leslie showed her father on one, and
oh, good God.
I told Mom, I said, man, I don't know. I think we can get you a little bit more spruced up and kind of a hot rod mobile than what those
well, they all ride Dad, they all ride golf carts. That's like,
yeah, they actually make golf carts that are singles now for just one, they said. Well,
there you go.
I mean, I just told Mom, I said, I can't imagine you're going to want something that keeps up,
My God. Amazing. Amazing.
And better yet, just stay in it. There's no need to bring your cane. You just travel around. So
there you have it.
I'm curious to see if that goes down, but I hope Mom does get out, because there's just so much going on. They say, the end of the day, happy hours are going on.
Yeah, I think this is the thing. This is what is unfortunate when you do get older. If you don't have company around, I think you get so just accustomed to not doing anything, because it's like it just becomes a routine where they say that if you can get into one of these environments before you get too old, so whether it be assisted living that's got things going on, or a retirement community, that if you just can let go of that, well, this is my house. Like if you can let go of that grab of it being yours and your possessions, and get into one of these environments, it's so much better for you, because it keeps you social. It keeps you active. I don't mean active in the sense of working out, but just active in doing things. And it will extend your life, because your mind is engaged, your body is engaged. But they just say that it's like you hit this mark when people start getting older, that then it's like they just won't leave. They won't leave their house, They think they've got to hold on to it in order to be able to, whether it's, I got to be able to give this to my children, or I mean, Faye was the same way. She always said, I'm going to move out. I'm going to, move into one of these communities with all my friends. And then she just one day was like, I'm never leaving this house. Yeah. And she never did. It's sad.
Well, yeah, I think it's, Mom's fine in the house, but she, when with nobody there now, I mean, she's going to get lonely. So
yeah,
she loves that, she loves it when somebody's in there, because she'll talk all day to you, and whether you're in the room or not, but so, but yeah, I mean, she's good when people are there. So she does need something to kind of keep her looking forward to the next day, or an opportunity the next day, instead of just, I think.
Yeah.
And I know all of the kids, we the four of us want her to do something similar to that. So, I think getting the house fixed up, getting the bathrooms taken care of, and all that tweaked is step one. And then, eventually, whenever, the time is the time. But I'm hoping this will open up her eyes and see that, she needs to be, or it's fun being around people.
Right. Like she's so,
and better yet, it's amazing. You mentioned the last year when everybody showed up. I mean, her phone rang all day long on her birthday.
I believe it, man.
Constantly. So, everybody checking in on her and wishing her well. And, just all the Delaware group calling in, and of course the kids and the grandkids and, cousins, and, just everybody saying hello. So yeah, she is, as we've said, and she is the anchor that holds this family together, no doubt.
Yeah. Well, I was glad to see that y'all all made it there, and that's very cool. And yeah, looking forward to hearing how her trip down there is too. That's great.
Yep.
That's great. Made a little trip of my own, Dad.
Yeah, where'd you go? Oh, I saw that. Our mom kept telling me, what are you doing in Niagara Falls? I said, I don't know anything about it. So
Niagara
Falls. Or she said, it looks like you're at the Niagara Falls. And
I have a question for you. Have you ever been to Niagara Falls?
No, but it is on my bucket list. That there's one place that I would like to go, and I think that would be a cool trip. So, all
right, I got an offer for you, because I will be back. I mean, we will be going back there, and
did you buy a timeshare?
Well, no, I say we will be back. We will be back because of hockey. It's going to happen again. But when we went
Is
this
that
time,
why you were there to begin with, was hockey?
Yeah, we had a hockey tournament up there
okay.
in February. No, nobody.
Yeah.
There's no better time to go to Niagara Falls than February. Like, yeah, baby, let's do it. So while we were there, they got about 6 inches of snow, and there's just snow everywhere. And what we learned is that people so we had to go through Buffalo, Niagara, whatever, that area. They don't give a shit about like shoveling their driveways or cleaning the parking lots. Like, we're like, there's just snow and therefore ice everywhere.
Yeah.
And we're, living here in Philly, when it snows or whatever, it's like they are so proactive in icing the sidewalks and the streets. And we're like, what's the deal? Like, they obviously are ready for this. They get snow all the time. And what we decided was, we're like, yeah, that's why. Like, they don't care
keep
because
it clean, so
what's the point? So it's like
cost prohibitive, I'm sure, to do that.
Ice in the parking lots. Be careful. Want to walk on that sidewalk? Walk on the road. We're driving down the road, Dad, on the way to the rink one morning. The day it's like actively snowing. It's snowing out. And this woman so I'm driving this direction, obviously. This woman's walking this way. So like different.
Against you. Yeah.
In the street. She's just walking. And when I say road, I mean, it is a 3-lane, like inner city highway. And she's just walking up the road because the sidewalks are covered in snow and ice. So I look over at Chris. I was like, I mean, is this normal? This woman is walking on the street, and we're all just like, guess so. So it was very interesting. But we went. The tournament was fine. We went up there. The boys played up their division. They played up, so we knew they weren't going to win. It was about going to be challenged. And I joked with Parker because they did play. They lost, so we played 4 games. They lost the first 3, which put us in the consolation division. And because of point differential, we were playing for the, as I called it, championship of losers. And we won that game. So they won their consolation game. And I was like, look at that. You guys are the best losers. You guys are the best worst team. And they laughed. Like, it was fine. The kids knew, the boys knew, like the coaches prepared them well for that. And it was fine. But we took all the kids to the falls, but not everyone had a passport. And I had just submitted my passport renewal in order to go to Montreal in May for hockey. And so we couldn't go to over into Canada and view the falls from the Canada side. So my point in telling you all this is, next time Parker goes, come with us. And because we're going to go over and view the falls from the Canadian side, which is much better because on the US side, you're almost like lateral to the falls, where on the Canadian side, you are able to look onto the falls. So
I see.
Very cool though. Nice park, very well maintained. And the kids had a great time just checking it out. Did you
drive up there?
We drove.
Oh wow.
And let me tell you, well, with stopping, it was like 7 hours. So we're like an hour outside of Buffalo, and there's going up up the interstate there. I will say this: New Jersey and New York have the best service stations of anywhere I've ever been. Number 1, they're clean. Number 2, the food is good. They've got like Shake Shack, Starbucks. They got good shit, is my point. So it's like stopping is usually you go to a service area, you're like, ugh, like all the people there. I'm never worried. It's like, I'll get a clean bathroom and I can get a great cup of coffee. Anyways, so we pull over, we're like an hour, maybe just an hour outside of Buffalo. And I was like, all right, let's stop and get gas, because we're going to have to get gas. If I don't do it now, we're going to have to do it in the morning on the way to the game. And we get out, and the wind was so, mind you, we're driving up knowing we're heading into snowstorms, and the wind was so gnarly. It just like, whoo. I mean, I'm standing there and I'm like, all right, I'll put the gas on and I'll put the thing down, run inside, go to the bathroom, get a coffee. Well, they had like shaved the little nodules off so you couldn't hold the gas pump and let it hold up and leave it unattended. So I had to stand there in the cold while I loaded, the gas tank. And it was like 20 degrees outside, but with wind chill, it was like, feels like 8. And I'm just standing there holding the gas, no jacket. It was insane. It was so fucking cold. So anyways, we go in. It was so cold. But the area was really cool. Like I would totally go there. Bills flags everywhere, obviously, for the football team.
Yeah.
There was like makeshift hockey rinks in all these people's yards because what else can you do there? So it's just a different world is my point. But we had a great trip. You'll have to come with us next time. It was a good trip. And we're rolling into, I haven't been able to catch up with you on this in forever. We really, we save all of our catch-ups for here, but we used to be really good about our Saturday morning coffee dates. So we may have to get back to that.
Yeah, we need to do that. Yep.
I miss doing that. But we roll out of Niagara weekend where, they played well and we knew they wouldn't win, and that's fine. Not a big deal. And then we go and we had a parents meeting for the upcoming tryouts for next fall. So, and I'm sure other parents who have kids that are involved in competitive travel sports program can all understand this. But the way it works for hockey is that the hockey fall season runs basically at our level from about September through the end of February. And so it's a fall winter sport. And then as you get out of what they call the mites level, which is the very bottom level, and you're progressing up into squirts, which is you have to be 9 years old. You then the competitiveness picks up. It becomes where everyone's playing full ice at that point. Some programs at the mite level are still half ice mites, like all this stuff. Parker's been playing full ice for 2 years, but in a mites division. But anyways, so my point in all this is that we come out of regular season in February, and then in March, so as soon as they're done with their full season, they're trying out for next year's team in March. So we go to a parent meeting to talk about and prepare for and give us the opportunity to ask questions about if your kids are trying out for, where Parker's going to be trying out is the Little Flyers organization, which runs out of our current facility. It's a AAA hockey program that runs from 9 years old up to 18 years. But so this runs for, point being, this could run for many years to come. So we go for this parents prep meeting where we can ask questions, how much is it going to cost? Whatever you want to ask. And so a lot of the people that are at the meeting are obviously families on his current team.
Okay.
So one of our
on Parker's team, yes.
On Parky's team. So one of our one of the things that comes up is, hey, it's great, all these tournaments, loved Buffalo, loved Niagara, but like, can we go south? Can we do anything in the south? And everyone laughs, and Shane, who runs Parker's current program and is a coach in the Little Flyers program as well, was leading the meeting, and he laughs. He's like, yeah, everybody wants to go to Florida. Everybody wants to go south. And he goes, but there's a chance that we will go and do a tournament in Nashville. next year. And I'm like, everybody's like, oh, that would be cool. And one of the parents brings up that she's like, well, I'll drive. Like, I don't like to fly. And I was like, well, I'll tell you, I drove it with the kids last spring break. My dad lives in Nashville. I drove it and we did it, and it's 13 hours. Just so you know, not a bad drive, but a solid 13. And she's like, yep, I'll drive however far. I don't like to fly. And this other dad pipes up and he's like, well, especially now with all of these like flight accidents and people dying and all this stuff. And I just look over at him. I'm like, all right. I was like, let's not go there, because like some of us have to fly like for the rest of our life. Like, we have places we got to go. So I was like, let's not get into all that. Let's just leave it behind. But it was funny because everyone was like then talking about all this stuff that's been in the news with these accidents and obviously the helicopter accident that happened. And it just brought me back to thinking about, your experience, which I've shared with some people, when that helicopter collided there at what was that, at Reagan?
Yeah.
And I was people were talking about it, and I just said, I've flown in a helicopter countless times. My dad's a certified instructor. And I was like, I just can't for the life of me understand how that could have happened after, again, flying with you and watching all the steps you have to do to enter an airspace, get ready to prepare to take off, get ready to prepare to land, whatever. I'm like, it was mind boggling to me. And I kind of was telling people, I was like, I would love to know what they find out, like really find out. Cause they share, but it's like, they're not going to share everything. Like, we all know that the government's not going to share all that. And being a military helicopter, like, no way. Right.
Yeah. Well, I think they figured out quite a bit already in the situation, but it won't, until that report comes out, you're kind of just guessing. But I thought it was funny. I was in Dallas and got a text from your mom I think it was on a Saturday morning, or maybe Saturday morning. And that was the last time Suzanne and I were in there, when we were going to go to Leo's and Pax's hockey games. But she just said Dominic was wondering if I had any insight on all of that. And I mean, it seems like, but it seems like you would think that there would not be issues or problems. But, again, obviously that helicopter was higher than it thought it was, just probably from a malfunction or, lack of whatever. I mean, my point to your mom is you've got a pilot in the left seat as the captain with 1,000 hours of flying. You've got a co-captain, and she was in the right seat with 700 hours of flight and of actual flight experience. And that time is, to me, that's just insignificant. That's insignificant time with regards to experience. So,
well, I think that's and better really yet, interesting for you to say.
They're running an operative situation at 200 feet above ground, which is low level to begin with.
Right. But I guess what I'm saying is, like, to go to your point about hours spent. So 1,000 hours, like, let's just go to the pilot, 1,000 hours spent when you were learning to fly, and let's just go all of it, learning to fly to becoming a certified flight instructor. How many hours did you have to have? Because you have to have so many hours to hit those levels, right?
Yeah. I mean, you go by the minimums, you need 40 hours of flight time as a minimum for a private pilot, 20 hours of instruction and 20 hours of dual with the flight instructor taking instruction, or, and better yet, some solo time on that. So a minimum of 40 hours. And I think I had 65 hours just to get the skill set in the helicopter to where I felt comfortable taking a check ride before a private.
Before you became an instructor.
Well, that was before a private pilot's license.
Right,
where
right.
I could just take you up.
Right.
So then you have to go for another 100 hours of just of flying before you can actually start working towards your commercial pilot's license. And then after that, you go on and you can become another, you take your next step to come up to CFI. All in all, it was probably 165. It was probably, I looked at this the other day because it's a part of the story I'm telling with regards to the book. I want to say I was at about 208 hours.
Yeah.
So the reason you go to flight instructor is because, number one, you're giving instruction. Number two, you get to log the time to yourself and get, continue your training by instructing others. But when I sold the helicopter, I mean, even at that point in time, I put another 600 hours in the helicopter, on my own after that, and finished up with like 807 hours before just walking away from it. So to me, as a pilot, that's not a lot of time. I mean, you're always tested in situations that are very nerve-wracking and unnerving. You experience that one in the flight to Tennessee. I can tell you, trying to cross midfield at DFW just as a training flight, David Gargaray and I were in the helicopter, and we're taking our first flight into controlled or class C airspace.
Yeah.
And just in operating and trying to land or fly a small helicopter in the pattern in front of all that other heavier equipment in and around you, and at a much slower speed. I mean, it's a daunting task. And I'll never forget, once we came in, did the approach, put it down, got out, took a break, get back in it, take off, and we take off, and then they clear us for a turn to the east back towards Garland, and we're going to be crossing we took off on the west side. We're going to be crossing the actual
like traffic pattern, and this is a DFW, like
traffic. Yeah, on the east side, we're going to be crossing. We're not crossing midfield. We're crossing on the north end of that. They're trying to get us to where we're going to be crossing it, in between planes taking off and planes, landing or taking off in that direction. Yeah. And, again, we were moving so freaking slow, but as fast as we could go. And they gave us the approval, and we just weren't making up we were not getting there fast enough.
Right. You couldn't move the aircraft quick enough. Yeah.
Yeah. We couldn't move it any quicker than we were going. And we just weren't going to get there. I didn't feel and cross midfield or at the runway area, mid runway, and make that happen. And, we did, but we could see the plane running down the runway, and we were at the opposite end, and it was coming. It was on its way. So,
yeah.
And that actually happened today, at Midway. I don't know if you've seen that footage today where the Southwest Airlines jet's coming in for landing, and it's a vivid clip, and they're coming down, and just right before the wheels touch down, you see the plane just pull up, and you look down the runway, and a net jet. You've heard of net jet, the corporate jets that all the golfers use to
I know you're talking about,
go here and there and everywhere. It's crossing the runway. I mean, it's coming to the runway and running the stop sign. Is what it's doing. And that jet just comes and he just pulls it straight up. His wheels were just ready to hit, and he gassed it and went up and did a fly around. And good call on his part. There's no telling. I mean, the jet could have gotten out of the way, but the jet didn't know.
He didn't know. No. Right.
Well, and they have the audio of the actual tower talking to the net jet and telling him to, cross runway 31 left to stop short of runway 31 right, stop short of 31 right, which is where the plane was landing. And he wasn't listening. He just went. Yeah.
Wow.
Full across.
Wow.
So, that was one case. Another case I did that, and, again, running too slow. And this was going, I was flying by myself going up to the Springfield, Illinois on that motorcycle oval track course that I was flying over. And I was over I don't even know what airport it was, over Missouri, and was trying to cross midfield in the controller gave me some directions and told me which way to go and a heading. And here again, I wasn't moving quick enough. And just, he said, "Are you going to make it?" And I said, "Well, I'm trying. I'm pedaling as fast as I can." And he said, "Well, you've got traffic taking off right now. I'm going to need you to alter your course and turn hard right, to heading whatever, so I could fly parallel with the jet that was taken off and avoid that." And then he cleared me after the jet got by me. And that's just nerve-wracking as heck. I mean, it's just, and same thing when we were running to Tennessee. It was just really, really, better. And it was just a lot of, it's just very stressful. And especially it's stressful when you're alone, and it's stressful when you have people.
Because you're holding their lives.
It's never as stressful when you've got your instructor sitting right next to you, because they supposedly have more experience than you do, obviously. But hell, David was 18 years old when he started training people. So I mean, he was just a youngster, and you jump into something like that and you don't realize it. Well, he's only got 200 hours too, if that. So he might have learned in a much shorter time frame. So he was flying every day, and when you fly every day like that, things come quicker, and that's what he was doing. He was full time.
Yeah, but
in California.
It's interesting hearing you talk about it, because I remember obviously when you got your license and you could fly privately, and even before you bought the first helicopter, it was just like, you said you would go for a helicopter ride, and I was like, yeah. I mean, I didn't even second guess it to be like, I don't know. I was like, absolutely. And I've told people that, like, oh, my dad, he's a pilot, and they're like all the time. I'm like, no. It's like a hobby. Like, he's learned to fly, and they're like, and you've been in a helicopter? I'm like, yeah. And I've had, Dad, I can't tell you the amount of people that have told me, like, oh, I would never do that. I would never get in a helicopter. And I'm just like, I would be like, why? And I mean, maybe it was blind faith, because it's my dad. And I was like, I obviously trusted you, but never had any apprehension. And I remember telling Mom that one time, and she was like, well, I had a lot of apprehension. Like, I didn't let the fact that your dad was flying you around in a helicopter, but I just never even thought about it. I remember one time when we were flying somewhere, and you didn't tell me, but I think you said something like, do you want to do something kind of cool? And I said, sure. But you didn't tell me what it was going to be. And you did a simulated engine failure. Where you just shut it off, and the whole helicopter just dropped. And then that's part of your learning, where you have to have a simulated engine failure and get it back up and get
rotation.
Right.
Yeah.
So it just drops, and I was like, and you got it back and came up, but to me, it was like a freaking roller coaster ride. I was just like, what was that? And you told me, well, this is what I did, and but, I mean, nothing beats you kind of baited this, but nothing beats the story about our trip to Nashville. I think we got to share that.
Yeah, that was, that was a very embarrassing moment for sure. And I was looking at that and just went before, knowing that we were going to try to talk about that today, but, I had prepared for that some time ago in writing the book. But yeah, it was definitely, after spending, as we just kind of.
Well, I want to set the scene a little bit, because obviously my memory is different than yours. But remind me, this is what I remember leading up to making the decision to go. We were at the lake house, which is where we would often fly. You and I would fly, and we may have shared this in a previous episode, but you owned your own 4-seater helicopter, Robinson R-44, and we would fly often, you and I, from Dallas out to the lake and for the weekend, where Sister Kelsey would be with Shelly, my stepmom at the time, your wife at the time. And so we had flown out, and we had done whatever we did that night, and we were sitting around. I remember we were sitting at the dining room table at the lake house. And it was during hockey season. And for whatever reason, we started talking about one of my best friends from college, Lindsay Oshab, that lived in Brentwood, Tennessee, which is a suburb outside of Nashville. And I think remind me how, I feel like we called them, but we got the idea that we could fly there to go watch the Stars play the Predators hockey.
Saturday night. Yeah.
Hockey game, right? Is that right?
Yeah, we sat around and we said, well, what are we going to do this weekend? And it was kind of it was kind of a dreary time. It was actually, it was the November 1st when we pulled out. So
regular season hockey. It wasn't playoffs.
Regular season hockey. Yeah. Just early in the season, the records were under 10 wins or something. I went back and looked that up to see previously, but yeah, it was for, they started kind of the first week in October in regular season. So,
well, and I had been into it. A little bit of timeline. I graduated from Florida State in May of 2003. Literally graduated on Friday. We moved to Dallas. I moved to Dallas with y'all that weekend of May of 2003. And this trip took place on November 1st of 2003. So I'd only been in Texas for 6 months. So I was obviously still talking to Lindsay, missing a friend. And for whatever reason, we decided.
Yeah, I think we looked and we said, hey, the Stars are in Nashville tomorrow. I said, if it's nice, we could, get in a helicopter and we could fly and see Lindsay and go to the game and then turn around and come back home on Sunday.
Yeah.
I said, it's 9-hour drive time. It's going to be about 4.5 hours to get there by flight. So why don't we look at that? So yeah, we looked at that and you got on the phone and I proceeded to go ahead and kind of plan the route and make sure that we know where the fuel stops were going to be and what was going on. And that was after 9/11 in 2001. And we were still under kind of secured airspace, or secured airspace could occur, which was known as a TFR, a temporary flight restriction, at any time, where somebody may be, the president or vice president or some government official would be, who was needing to be secured. They would shut down airspace, at said times of day if there was a meeting going on or they were going from point A to point B on the highway and things like that. So so we got all that checked out the weather. Everything was good to go and nothing that we could see on any kind of warnings going on and this and that. And yeah, we loaded up Saturday morning and took off.
Did we leave early? Did we leave early? I don't even remember. I'm assuming we did, because it was a solid. We knew with stops it was probably gonna be like a 5-hour. Commute.
Logbook showed that it was exactly 5 hours out. It was about 4.7 coming back, but we got up pretty early. It wasn't the crack of dawn, but we were out of there by 10 o'clock. It was kind of a little bit of a cloudy, overcast day, as I remember.
Yeah.
Took off from Franklin County and had with where we had, what fuel we had available. We had like 3/4 of a tank. So I knew that we were going to, rather than putting full fuel in it, we would just hit Hot Springs or hit some area in Arkansas for refueling. And we made it to Arkadelphia, Malvern, which is just right next door, and stopped there at the first airport for fuel and took a break. And that probably was no more than, an hour plus to get there. So at that point in time, I should have made a phone call or gotten up and actually gotten a report to see if anything had popped up. Weather was not the concern. It was sunny at that point in time and weather was clear moving the rest of the route. So that was good, but didn't even think about, a TFR on a Saturday morning occurring. And that's obviously what we got into.
So don't spoil this. So we fuel up, we're headed into Tennessee, and it's It's a 4-seater helicopter, small. So, I mean, I want to set the stage here a little bit for people. This is not a military aircraft. Like, I think people think helicopter and they think the big news helicopters or the military helicopters. It is literally a 4-seater. It's got just enough room for 4 seats with a bubble, and that's it. It's not a huge aircraft. So it's me and you are in the front, and Kels and Shelly are in the back seat. And we are in Tennessee, approaching Memphis.
Right.
Yep. And so we're just cruising. Yep. We're like, hey, we're cruising. We're close. Yeah.
Memphis is a big airspace, so you have to report 30 miles out, that you're coming. And then as you get closer, then, and we're traveling at a much lower altitude than aircraft are. So, you're normally anywhere from 1,000 feet to 500 feet above ground, kind of as a minimum. But usually we would be flying at about 1,200 feet mean sea level. So just depending upon what the grade level was, which probably wasn't more than a couple hundred feet. But anyway,
not super high. Like for reference, when I went skydiving, I jumped at 13,000 feet. Yeah. So I mean, we're significantly lower. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can actually see the spots on the cows. So it's you get good visual of the ground. So we just start letting them know that we're coming through and trying to figure out which way we're going, but we're going around. But as soon as you get into space and, and better yet, we are flying at the structure of airspace, you have controlled airspace that's higher, that's a broader circle, and it kind of is a reverse funnel or reverse upside down cake where it gets smaller. So we really don't have to report in if we're going to get in their airspace and within a 10-mile circle, knowing, that we're flying at the altitude that we are. So we do call them at 10 miles, but we were going to stay well south of the actual airport. So as you remember, we're just flying along. Everybody's talking, having a great time. I don't know what's going on, but there's 4 of us in there just, hooping and hollering and all excited. I know. And what's your memory there?
Well, so this is what I remember. So we're cruising.
There's plenty of distractions.
But like it's chill. Like we're cruising, we're talking. I mean, we're not listening to music. Like we're just hanging out, we're talking. And I'm in the front with you, and all of a sudden I feel like there's something to my right, and I look out the window, and there is a fucking military jet so I don't hear it. Like I see it, and it comes up like right next to us, 100 yards away. I mean, but in the air, it's like, it feels close. And maybe it was 200 yards, but it was close enough where I was like, this jet comes, and it literally, the tail of this jet dips where it goes from being a horizontal aircraft to about a 45-degree angle of vertical, because it
they call that porpoising,
because he's to slow down
so
slow. That aircraft dips from being next to us, and it just like drops. And I just remember I hit my button to talk, because you get like the buttons in the headphones, and I was like, Dad, we've got company. And you're just like, you got the you've got the joystick, whatever you call it, you're working the thing, you're working the throttle. And I'm like, Dad, we've got company. And you go, what? And you go, and you're like, in my mind, you're like, what the fuck? And that's like what I remember. I don't know if that's what you remember.
Yeah, that's the way it went down. I mean, you saw him before I did. I was too busy looking forward and looking left, and he was right so close to us that I didn't even notice that. But you've spotted him first right there on our right wing, even though we don't have a wing. And I wasn't really too concerned, because I knew we were close to a military air base, which we were. We were kind of close, not in their space, but there was one south of us. So I was kind of expecting to see military F-16s, and that's what this was. I mean, he just pulled up, and then I thought about that, and I said, okay, and I looked down. I remember looking down at the GPS and seeing if I could see anything. I said, well, we're not there. But when we would fly around Dallas and go from east of Dallas out over to Fort Worth along Reunion or along the Interstate Reunion Tower and the Reunion Ball there in the old stadium at that time, Navy Dallas was right there just on the other side. And you'd always have those freaking F-16 fighter jets. They would just come up there. They'd see this little helicopter. And they would just come up and mess with you.
They're just fucking with you.
Yeah, take a look, and they'd wave, and they'd try to slow down and just to show a command of presence. And it wasn't that you were in their way or busting their airspace, but they were just kind of messing around with you. So that's kind of what I thought we had there.
Yeah. Well, I just thought
about it, and I said, yeah.
Well, if you remember this,
he put the gas to it. Yeah, he put the gas to it. And so you can describe it.
That's how it was. And you're like, yeah, okay. And then he takes off, like, because he dips so low, and then all of a sudden he just, and he takes off. And now we're watching them in front of us. So I see him we both do, and he circles back. He goes up, and he does
a vertical climb and does
Top Gun style. And I'm like, okay,
circular loop.
This is fun. Circular loop, comes back, and then he comes up and he starts doing the sway motion. And do you remember me? Do you remember me looking at you? I go, Dad, he's showing us his missiles. Because you were like, it's fine. You were in your mind. You're like, it's fine. He's just like checking us out. And I'm like, okay. And then he comes back. I'm like, Dad, he's like showing us his missiles. He's doing this.
Sway. I knew we were in trouble then, because they give you three attempts, and he went around more than once. He made
so it was more than that.
Circle and came back, and I'm trying to get onto the military frequency to talk to him, and I'm wigging out on that. Couldn't even put two and two together to know that knowing what the actual ident code was and to get him on the horn. But anyway, so he comes back around again, and then he like you say, they waggle their wings.
Yes.
And if they waggle their wings, that's your final warning that they are authorized at the third. If they are not getting you to follow or getting your attention to communicate in some form or fashion, they will waggle their wings, and then it's open fire. Is technically what the protocol was. And as an instructor at that time, I'd read and we'd heard, and this wasn't the first time that this had happened with student pilots, but as an instructor, I was beyond experience of making that silly mistake. But they will. An airplane is meant to follow that airplane. Of course, they can't keep up. They can't keep up with that jet, but they will get on a frequency and tell them to follow them to, airport such and such, such and such.
Right.
And then the stories were that they would land and they'd get arrested and then go in and actually, have to get out of the jail, or better yet, just be held until they could figure out what the heck was going on and investigate and do all that. So as when they made that definite, left and right of the wing, I said, we're going down to the ground. I said, hold on. We're going to the ground.
You were actively, I do remember you were actively trying to find the channel. And I just remember you looking and you were like, we got to land. We're going. I found the airport and we're landing. And we
didn't even go to the airport. If you remember right, there was an excavator working and
we went in a field. We went into a field first. That's right.
They were building a mall right there.
Oh my God, I forgot about that. Yeah.
There was an excavator down there. His name was Matt, by the way. I found his name and his phone number on a card in my flight book or in my log book. You had written it down, actually. You had gotten his number and wrote down Matt. Oh my God. We got a 615 Tennessee number.
Yeah.
So we just kind of threw it into just a steep descent and got down there, put it on the ground and climbed.
There's all that dirt. I remember that now. It was like just a dirt field, basically. Yes.
And he was running that daggone, earth mover.
Yeah.
And jumped out of the helicopter and he came over and, he was very friendly, and I said, I hate to say this, but do you know where I am? And so in your handwriting on that card, he actually gave us the longitude and the latitude coordinate that we could take up and report back when we got back in the air.
Yeah.
So he told us exactly where we were. And I looked at that, and then I said, "Oh shit, we're in Memphis airspace," and I bet this is I knew it was a TFR as soon as he waggled his wings. And I said, I know I'm in Memphis. I said, "How close am I?" And he said, "Well, you're probably within 10, 15 miles." And I said, "Well, shoot, something's going on." And he was a retired U.S. air pilot.
Oh my God, I forgot all of this.
Yeah. So he knew what
we had done.
He was a captain. He retired from U.S. Air as a captain. And he was just out there, running that. It was a friend of his that was actually developing that property. And he told him he'd run that equipment over the weekend. And that's what he was doing. So we picked it back up, and I got on with Memphis Control, or I called into Memphis as soon as we got up in the air. And we flew, further south and kind of out of the operation. The jet wasn't anywhere to be.
It was gone.
Gave up on us, knowing that we went down, and which was really the smartest move I made, I think. But in any event, Memphis was understanding and just asked us what was going on. We told them, we didn't realize that there was, the TFR was in effect. And
didn't we find out that Obama was in Memphis, or Bush?
No, it was the vice president, whoever Bush's vice president was there.
Couldn't even tell you.
Yeah.
But we did find that out.
I can't remember his name.
But we did go to an airport.
Cheney.
We did go to an airport before, and because I remember you had to talk to a guy.
They just told me that they said just call back to the tower.
Yep.
At your next fuel stop. Do you know where that is? And I said, yes, we're stopping at Centerville, Tennessee, and we'll call in then. And we flew on there. It was quite a ways to get there, and we finally called him, and actually called up. Tower gave us over to Secret Service agent. His name was Kevin Sandlin.
Look at that.
So we talked to him. He explained to him what was going on, and he everything on that note card. I gave him my social security number, gave him this, gave him that. I'm sure I had a passport at that time. I think I actually gave him my passport number if I had that.
The good news is you had not been arrested for disorderly conduct at that point in time yet.
That's a good point. That is a good point. I hadn't been to jail yet. So he just said, well, we understand. And
it happens.
He was very helpful. He said, you just need to, when you get home, file a NASA report and, get it to the FAA and tell your story and what happened and all that goes on. And I'm sure you'll be okay. It's not a big deal, even though it sounds like a big deal. It's what he made me feel like, but
it felt like
I was just so embarrassed, so embarrassed to go back to the heliport and walk into David Nauman's office and let him know that I busted a TFR over that weekend. And David still laughs about that to this day, that he said, you could just tell you were just a nervous wreck. But anyway, filed the report. They put you on 3 months probation. Obviously, we're aware that you weren't creating any harm and just made a simple mistake. And that would have never been the issue had it not been for the 9/11,
Well, 100%.
All that going on. They had the same thing actually in the day of the David Koresh, the Davidians, when that thing was going down. We were Mike Reiner and I were going to get in 2 helicopters, and we had cameramen going with us to go down there and actually film that Sunday. So we were up early and getting everything ready to go, and we were getting ready, and in doing so, and the camera crews were there, and we called to make sure that it was still open to flight, or at least within a perimeter of flight, which it had been. But right before we left, they'd shut it down, so we never did get to make that journey.
Oh wow!
During that day, so. But anyway, yeah. So that was and we went there and went to the game that night. You know, it was kind of a a buzzkill, but we did go ahead and go to the game and battled to a 1-1 tie.
I was gonna say, who won that game? Was it a tie? It couldn't have been a tie.
That's when they let ties go. You know, you played overtime, and if it was a tie, it was a tie. You know,
they didn't do shootout. They didn't do shootouts then. Wow. Well, and we landed. It was kind of fun because when we finally got there, we landed in like a big, their yard behind Lindsay's house, and of course everybody was all excited because there was a helicopter landing and all that, which was how it always was. It was always a big thing, but we did make it. We went to the game. We had a great time. We had a good time.
You remember me taking you to that sewing lesson in
in Garland
at Mesquite?
Mesquite. Oh yeah,
that towny small.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I would get out and run. I ran across.
Yeah,
I do miss. I mean, I loved flying with you. Like I always loved that, and I miss it. I wish we still had the helicopter. I'd love for the kids to be able to fly with you. It was very cool. I was always proud of you for that. I always just thought that was so cool and very proud of your accomplishment and, how not only learning to fly, but taking that to be an instructor and it was awesome, Dad. That was so cool. So cool.
Well, thanks. That was a lot of fun. And and well, it will be good to revisit that here in a future episode as well I think we're going to get David on the podcast to talk about those days, and he's got some harrowing experiences as well. So I think everybody that I know that had kind of grown up and flew at the same point in time. I don't know if you remember Harlan Leeds, but he had a 44.
Yes, also. I do remember Harlan. He was on Possum Kingdom. Yep, yeah.
And Harlan would always ask me, and he'd say, "You want to go flying?" And I said, "Well, I do, but who's driving?" Who's fine, you or me? And so anyway,
well, it's a control thing. We like to control.
Yeah, and again, we were fine. I actually gave him a couple of his biennial flight reviews and things like that, but I don't know if you remember, but he had his 44 out there at the lake one weekend when the storm came in and the winds were so heavily that and he had that house on top of the cliff there, about 40 feet up off the water, and it just picked it up and threw it over into the lake. Lordy. Yeah. Good times, good memories.
Good times. Well, I will never forget that experience together and that trip. And
do you remember the time we were going to the lake and we got headed out that way and it got really kind of cloudy and we could see that the sun was above the clouds and we busted the clouds where we were going out to the east to the lake? It was like it was a Saturday morning, and you and I were flying out there as you said in the very first part of that story. And I said, "Man, it looks like the weather's it's good. The sun was out, but it was just a little bit broken sky." And I said, let's go on up above these clouds and ride the way out there, at 2,500 feet above the clouds. I'd never done that before. And we went all the way out there, which was about 45 minutes. And we got to the airport, Franklin County. It had gotten really cloudy there to where the clouds were cloud cover, know? And so, as a non-instrument rated pilot, you can't bust the clouds, if you can't get down out of the clouds. So we were in a situation, and it wasn't, storming or that kind of weather. It was just overcast and there was a cloud layer there. And I said, "Well, get ready. We can at least see the ground, but it's a little bit hazy." And, I said, we're going to enter auto rotation, and here we go. That way we at least know we're going down and we're not going to lose, going down and keep it level. And that way we won't get any disorientation.
Yeah.
And, we did an auto to the center of the field and, broke the clouds and brought it to a hover, and there we go. So that was the most fun part about flying a helicopter was demonstrating and doing auto rotation practice for sure. That was a lot of fun.
Well, I loved it. And we would come in, when we would come in on Fridays, because often you and I would fly in on Fridays. And remember, a lot of times we would say, let's go see who's out on the lake. Because a lot of times everybody would go out on the lake Friday evenings when before the weekend traffic picked up. And you and we would come in, and before we would land there at the airport, we'd go over to the lake and we'd fly over, and, sometimes we'd see the G's, or we'd see TJ or, Jamie and all them. It was great. Yeah. We would fly over and buzz them and then come back. It was such a great experience. And
Yep. And it's so funny that I think it happened one time. I was flying in along I-30, and they're at the highway right there by where that cowboy church used to be before that vet clinic.
Yeah.
There was a house there that had a pool in the backyard, and I come in over there one day and was kind of flying low, and there was a couple guys and girls hanging out in the back, and sure enough, you go right over top that, they can hear the wop 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 wop.
Yeah.
Tops come off, and they're stringing them up, throwing them up in the air.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same way over the lake. It seems like a low flying helicopter will always bring a top or two off.
No doubt. No doubt.
It's not that you get the opportunities to look at.
No, because you're like focused.
Or hang out.
It's all for your passengers. All for your passengers. That's right. But
you don't.
Oh, Dad, I loved that. I miss that, and that makes my heart feel big. I know that was a stressful day, but that's one of our best stories we've got. F-16. I've never been that close to an F-16 again.
Yeah, we almost.
I just remember telling. I remember telling.
Seat with him.
Yeah, I remember telling people that, and they were like, "No way." I'm like, "No, seriously, like, no fucking joke. Like right there."
Yep, he was close enough to see his mustache and what hair color he had. So there you go.
Like he had to have looked over and seen a man with 3 blondes, and was just like, "What the fuck are these people doing?" Like he had to have known there was no hazard, but like he had to do what he had to do, Yeah. Yeah. Had to.
Yeah.
Good times, Dad. All right.
All righty. Well, have a great rest of your week.
You too, Padre. You too.
We have a guest on next time, I believe, don't we?
We do. We're going to talk more. Talk a little bit more about this pilot season of life that you had next episode.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
How's that sound?
Very good. All righty.
I love you.
I love you. Over and out.
Over and out. 10-4, good buddy.
Thank you for tuning in today. With so many podcasts out there, we are grateful you chose to spend your time with us.
And we'd love to hear from you. So send us your questions, comments, and feedback to info@twoclicksinapod.com, and we might feature your message in a future episode.
Also, don't forget to follow us on social and head over to our YouTube channel where you can watch the full episode live and in living color. You can find us at 2 Clicks in a Pod. That's 2, as in the number, clicks in a pod.
Well, James, until next time, love you.
Love you too, Daddy.